Early, if that's all right with everyone. Quick poll of the room to start off. One, type of firm. Who here is an architect or architecture firm? Okay. Okay. Engineering. Nice. Construction. Miscellaneous. Okay, I'm curious. Manufacturing.
Same.
Interiors.
Interiors, very nice. Okay. And then kind of a gauge of the usership within the room. Who is brand new to Bluebeam, probably doesn't even have it installed on their computer. Which is totally fine. That's you. Okay. Who's kind of uses it every other day or something like that, knows of it, yeah, okay. And then who's kind of maybe a power user or close to it? And then who thinks they can school me? Just checking. All right. So today's presentation, we have another one tomorrow as well for kind of, I would say, the more advanced half of kind of workflow-centric information. Today is going to give everyone a baseline on what not only PDF as a file format and PDF software, but specifically Bluebeam Revu is. And then we'll touch on some of the new stuff that's in the latest release, 2016, which came out a couple, 3 weeks ago. So my name is Nick Decker. I'm a senior industry specialist at Bluebeam. Amy and Drew are up here. They will be helping me as we go, and then we'll do the questions. Speaking of questions, feel free to raise your hand, interrupt. I'm all for kind of having an open dialogue and this type of thing. So by no means, we have to stick to the script or anything like that. So with that, I'll kind of go again into the background of PDF as the file format. It's an ISO standard. What that means for everyone is that anything we do in PDF, in really any software, should be able to be replicated or viewed in very high fidelity in any other program. So everyone should be familiar with Adobe Reader, Adobe Acrobat, that type of thing, or Nuance, or Foxit, or all sorts of other PDF software. Bluebeam Revu is another one of those PDF software, but it's kind of purpose-built for the technical industries. It was born out of manufacturing, actually from Pasadena Jet Propulsion Labs. The Mars rover needed high fidelity PDF exports out of modeling software. That sounds really familiar for a lot of people in this room. So that's actually how it was built, or how it started. 13 or 14 iterations later, and a lot of customer feedback. It's very built for, again, that technical industry. So architecture, engineering, construction, manufacturing, really anything that has to do with lots of documents or lots of paper, and then drawing specifically. And so we'll touch on exactly what that is. A couple things I want to go over specifically to PDF. First one being raster versus vector-based information. I'm just going to give again a little bit of a background. Raster-based information is basically just pixels. The computer just sees it as ones and zeros and pixelated information. This little spot is going to be black, and then the little spot next to it is going to be white, and you end up kind of forming letters and shapes and things like that. That's totally fine, and in a lot of cases there's no difference between raster and vector as far as workflows and things. But when you get into kind of workflows and some of the different features that we'll go over, vector-based information is critical. And so when you're authoring out of a Revit, an AutoCAD, SolidWorks, or Inventor, or really any other program, or Word and Excel and Outlook and PowerPoint, being able to kind of keep everything vector-based information makes everything searchable. So searchable text, searchable symbols, those types of things can be very, very useful when you start talking about working with your documents and harnessing all the information on the page. Because quite frankly, what PDF is if you would click print and it goes to a physical printer, it essentially just grabs that before it hits the physical printer and turns it into a file format. It's a published file. which is great in a lot of ways. You're not going to have people accidentally delete stuff, but you're also, you have the ability to kind of place markups and some layers and stuff on top that start working into these technical workflows that we're going to touch on. So I promise I'm going to stop talking at you here very soon. We'll get into features and demos of these. So here's kind of the quick agenda, if you will, of what I'm going to cover. Starts with the interface. Again, for those of you that are not familiar with it, totally fine. It's very intuitive. I just want to make sure I kind of explain where the panels and the buttons are and how to get at all of those nifty features. Next would be placing markups on the page. Revu has a very wide library of what you're capable of doing, but it's also still all ISO standard information. So anything that you do in a review is going to be carried over into all these other softwares as well. The tool chest, the next one in the line, we're going to touch on that just a little bit. Basically, that will take all of the information that you're placing on the page and allow you to save it and not only reuse it for yourself, but your project team as well. We'll touch on measurements. I feel like that's pretty critical for a lot of people in the room, being able to understand context of lengths and areas and things like that on your drawings. And then finally, the markups list, which essentially is a spreadsheet attached to your PDF. It's kind of unique to Bluebeam Revu, and it allows you to harness all that data. I'm going to harp on data quite a bit in this presentation and how those workflows are going to apply. So that's the basics of Revu as a whole, and then we have some new features that are released in 2016. Now this is kind of the pseudo full list, or kind of the big five for this year's release. We're only going to go over 2 of those in this class, the rest of those being tomorrow's class as well. So I just kind of prepare everyone for that, but these 2 are very, very neat, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that being said, questions at this point before we dive into the software? Awesome. All right. Hop over to Bluebeam. So this is the interface for those of you that are not familiar, but it looks and feels like any other Windows program, other than it's probably darker than your Office Words and Excel and things like that. This ribbon at the top is what we call our command bar. Each one of these little options here is a different menu that I can click through, and each one of those menus is subcategorized out. So again, it should feel very similar to any other Windows program. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. As I click through each one of these items, you'll notice that everything on the right, these icons are changing. The stuff on the left is not. These are kind of the usual suspects, these 7 items. New, open, save, print, email, studio, which we may or may not touch on, depends on timing, which is our cloud solution, being able to host all the documents and collaborate and all that stuff. And then this nondescript orange triangle here gets overlooked a lot. This is our tab access, which gives you all of your features in one nice little concise list. If you don't know where your features are, go to the orange triangle. That's going to give you access to all of those features broken out. So, for example, if I want to access my files, I can always just come up to my open menu, just click the little open folder, and be able to get at everything from here, which is pretty normal. Or I can come over to my file access, and this is going to give me a shortcuts list of everything that I do frequently. So I have my recent files. You'll see that I have about 8 here, and I clear this quite often. But I could have the last 30 all broken out by dates or folders or all sorts of different stuff, and have that running list kind of be my go-to. Or I can go ahead and start pinning information here at the top as well. So I can pin files and folders up to this location, and they can be completely different file paths and 12 folders deep from different locations, and all be kind of pinned to the same location. That way you can get at it quite frequently. For example, I have my specifications and my drawings in 2 very different locations, but with a click I can pop both of those open side by side. You'll notice that they're all in tabular format across the top, and so I can access each one of these just within the same instance of Revu. Not every program does that, but it should feel familiar to those web browsers of the world. And in fact, there's a lot of similarities there to your Google Chromes or Internet Explorers. So you'll notice that this panel on the left popped out. I can kind of pop it back in if I want to maximize screen real estate. just by clicking that little blue half circle. We have a panel on the bottom and the right-hand side as well. And those house all those features that you saw in the tab access here within this list. So if I don't know which panel each one of these features is behind, I can always come back to my orange triangle and see the whole list. Also, I can rearrange these if I'd like. So if I want my file access somewhere else, I can drag it around. I can put it on a different monitor. In fact, we see a lot of people who do lots of markups or estimating and all sorts of stuff. Take this bottom panel, the spreadsheet, and essentially put it over on a different monitor, and you can have that corresponder basically navigate with your PDF on two different monitors. So, with that, beyond just being able to view your document, which is this obviously this big open space here, I can go ahead and start splitting my screen as well, and be able to have multiple files open side by side. So if I want, for example, my drawing, and I'm kind of zooming around and navigating this, and then I want to be able to navigate my my spec and kind of compare the two side by side, or I'm working with RFIs, or whatever else it may be that you do on a day-to-day basis. You can do that kind of within the same instance of review. Now you'll notice as I use my mouse wheel, this is going to scroll up and down because this is kind of an 8.5 by 11 Word style document, whereas this drawing here is wide format. It's going to zoom in and out, so you're going to want to more likely zoom in to see the different features. I can click and drag and take them out. Okay. Now beyond that, say for example, let's go ahead and kill the split screen here. And this is a first floor plan. I'm going to go ahead and pop open a second floor. So if I want to be able to kind of navigate or compare first floor and second floor together, I can go ahead and split my screen, have one drawing open on the left, one drawing open on the right, and I can actually synchronize as well and have these navigate and zoom together as well. So I can see where the overlays are, maybe see if the walls are matching up or whatever else it may be. And you'll see here, for example, that actually looks like these two are offset a little bit, which is interesting. So my architect messed that one. Okay. Beyond that, you'll notice, for example, all these tools on the right-hand side. These are my toolbars. I can add and subtract all sorts of different stuff with a right-click, and it'll give me a context menu. So for those of you, again, that are fairly new, I can right-click and get at anything that I'm capable of doing where my cursor is. It's going to give me that context menu. So if I'm in the document, it'll allow me to add notes, turn pages, do searches, stuff like that. If I'm in the document tabs here at the top, I can open up web tabs or open new documents, all sorts of stuff. For example, I can just search Midwest U directly from my interface as well. So for Midwest U, it'll pull up that website. I can do that all directly from here as well. All right, so now for the transitioning, if you will, into markups themselves. So I'm able to view these documents, and I can do all sorts of different viewing and setting up my screen and personalizing this information. Actually, one thing I do want to mention is the ability to change profiles. So right now I'm in a design review profile. This is built for that specific workflow, but if I was doing, for example, takeoff, I'm going to need different tools. You'll notice that the screen kind of reconfigures. It gives me some different tool sets over here to do gypsum board and mechanical, electrical takeoff, all sorts of stuff from here. If I'm doing oil and gas, same thing. I click on it, it's going to give me all sorts of different tools for valves and different items as well. If I'm doing construction, advanced office work, it really doesn't matter, these are all preloaded. And I can use these as templates to customize even further as well. So if I have different tool sets and things that I want to be able to use and create, I can use that based on the profile and different workflows that I'm doing. Okay, so now into the markups themselves. As you'll notice, again, I mentioned the toolbar on the right-hand side. This is a quick way to get at all my features. I can also come up to the markup option at the top. Now, these were grayed out before because I didn't have a document open. I didn't have anything to mark up. Now that I have a document open, these are ready to be used. You'll notice that each one of these has a kind of a letter next to it. That's a keyboard shortcut for those of you that are keyboard shortcut aficionados. So I don't have to actually click on text box. I can just click T on my keyboard, and I can literally just start typing text box. It's as exciting as it sounds. So I have pins, I have highlighters. Highlighters are nice because not only does it allow me to freeform highlight, but it's also going to notice the fact that I'm over text, for example, and it's just going to highlight that text. And so you'll notice that my cursor actually changes as I get further away.
Is there any way you can do it freehand where you can get it horizontal, vertical, straight lines, or all the
Yes. So, for example, lines. If you just want to do regular lines, I can, freeform place a line, but you're exactly right. If I want to put this orthogonal, I can hold my shift key, and you'll notice as I press my shift key down, it's going to snap orthogonal and basically snap the 45-degree increments. And so I'll be able to do that as well. So that's an option. Lines, arrows, arcs, all sorts of different items here. Polygons, if you want multiple line segments. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now dimensions are neat, and this is, we have dimensions, we have measurements, two different things. Dimensions, basically you're telling the program what are the two endpoints, and then you get to place the text in between those two arrows. So for example, I'm going to turn on my snap to content here. And that's another point of vector versus raster-based information. If I'm in a vector-based file, it's actually going to know intersections or the points that the lines cross. So it's actually going to snap to those spots for me instead of me having to define exactly where that line is. It'll make it perfect measurements. So I'm doing a measurement here, and I need to actually know this dimension. So I place that text, and it's going to go ahead and define it for me. Now I can do measurements as well, which we'll touch on in a moment. Basically calibrate this drawing and start doing my own measurements from there. So beyond that, we have our running list of shapes, which is anything that's enclosed. So the rectangles, now if I'm doing, if I want a square, same thing, I hold my shift key. It's actually not shift key. It's going to snap to a square. Same thing with ellipse. If I do ellipse, then I hold my shift key, so it's going to be circle. So quick tips there. Now, this mostly being AEC or drawing intensive information, I'm going to need to be able to call out locations on the drawing. That's where clouds come in a lot of places. So I can literally just place clouds, or I can kind of define the shape as well. So it's going to work just like a polygon, but it's going to have nice fluffy edges as opposed to a sharp polygon, for example. So, same idea. But there's a lot of times where you're going to have to place a cloud and a call out. It gets really annoying if you have to do that workflow over and over and over again. So we added a cloud plus, which allows you to do just that. So for example, maybe there's a door swing here that I don't like. I'm going to go ahead and drag a cloud around it, and you'll notice that my cursor basically has a text box attached to it. So if I just click over here, I can say, change door swing, click out of it, and this will always be attached. I can drag it wherever I like. It's always going to be an application, or it's basically tied back to the cloud. Okay, sketch tools I'm not going to get into right now, but there's some like drafting capabilities, being able to kind of define right angles and all sorts of different things as well, if you really need high precision. Images are great. I can go ahead and just click on image, and then I can dive into whatever files I have on my computer. So it could be something as simple as a picture that I took out into the field. Maybe I need to point out a location, so drag an arrow to whichever location it is within the drawing. Or I can go ahead and take pictures with my computer camera. So, hi everyone. And be able to tie that to the drawing as well. Now, another extension of that is what's called capture. So say, for example, I need to change this door swing, but I don't want to write a paragraph on what type of door it needs to be, if it needs to be left or right hung, or all sorts of other stuff. If I have an image of what it's supposed to look like or what it is in the field, I can go ahead, right-click, and add a capture. Now, from the same thing, I can go ahead and actually add a picture from the camera, or I can go ahead and pull it from my files as well, and be able to access that information. Now, I don't have a great example of this door swing picture, so I'm just going to add a another type of door. And you'll notice that markup has a little camera lens there. That's now the capture attachment. It's basically attaching a picture to it. And I send this off, right? Basically I zoom out. It's not going to take up any screen real estate. I don't have to have the picture zoomed, to full size or anything. It's basically just a small attachment. But if I click on it, it's going to give me that full picture. I can actually add video and audio as well. Say, for example, I'm walking around with an iPad. I can go ahead and make a recording and talk through what the issue is that I'm exploring. I can add additional picture, basically have a whole library attached to this particular one. So a lot of flexibility there to capture field information for you. Okay, so I'm not going to get into hyperlinks right now. They're really neat, I promise. We'll touch on it tomorrow if you're in that particular class. You can add attachments. You can, tie different files to, or basically attach it to another file. A new function over there, and then stamps. So it's exactly what you would expect. I can go ahead and place a stamp in this case, my fake PD stamp here. And you'll notice that it actually has dynamic text for the date, which is 3/23, which is today. I can do dynamic text for users and dates and times and all sorts of different things. I can automate the stamp process if I'd like. It's really kind of flexible in what you'd like to be able to do. So if you're doing a print job, for example, you're printing out of Revit, and you need to be able to understand when exactly these were printed for whatever purpose it may be, you literally just assign the location within the document, and it'll give you the exact date and time that this was printed, that type of thing. You can sign off signatures and all sorts of different things using this stamp functionality as well. All right, so that is the quick version of markups. Questions at this point? All right, so I'm going to touch on the tool chest. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but basically this is where I would house all of my my information that would tie to different workflows and things. So, for example, I'm in the design review profile, so I have corresponding tool sets that match that particular workflow. In this case, I have architect review, contractor review, and engineer review tool sets. I also have this recent tools, which is everything I've already placed on the page that I can go ahead and then reuse. Now, in this case, I haven't done anything that's really groundbreaking, but for example, if I need another copy of that stamp or that image, I can do so from here. Now, for example, this Cloud Plus, if I want an exact copy of that changed door swing, I can go ahead, select that item, and it's going to give me an exact copy, and maybe I need to go ahead and place it somewhere else. I can do that very easily. And this can be tied to these sort of tools. Go ahead.
And things like the stamp, you apply that to all sheets and then.
Yes, you can. So this is a one-page document. So let's go ahead and we'll copy and paste this page and make it 2 pages. So if I come over to that tool set here, or to that particular stamp, I can right-click and apply it to all pages, and it would work. Now, since I actually did a copy, it's going to be on the second page automatically anyway, because it's copying overall the markups. Same thing goes for any other type of markup. I can go ahead, right-click and apply to all pages. So there's some different engines in the background for stamps. If I go ahead and right-click on the thumbnails tab itself, I can go ahead and apply a stamp and actually pick which quarter I want to place it in and all sorts of different stuff from here as well. So if I want to put, for example, the date and time in the bottom left corner, I go ahead and click OK. Now as I come back into I didn't apply it first. There we go. I only applied it to the first page. So that would be able to be done on one of the pages. All right, so a little bit further into the tool set, the recent tools is always going to clear itself out. So every time I close review and open it back up, it's going to clear. So you're going to need to save that information while you're in the program. And so that's where you go ahead and create different tool sets or go ahead and add them to existing. So for example, if this stamp is something that I use quite frequently, I can go ahead and drag it up to the My Tools. And now it's a keyboard hotkey number 6. And I can place that stamp wherever I like without having to click or do anything. You'll notice these different tool sets down here. These are color coded depending on what you like. I can color code any of the markups I want using the properties panel. So for example, if I A, and then multi-select, right-click, pop over the properties. I can now come over here and change any colors I'd like. So I already have a teal, blue, and a purple. So let's go ahead and make this, well, everything is already red. Let's make it orange. Fill color of orange. And, yeah, you can see I can kind of customize these all at the same time. You'll notice that they're changing in recent tools. And then I can go ahead and drag these down to a new tool set or existing tool set. So this is how you go ahead and build out all those different tool sets. There's a lot that are pre-populated or pre-created, and you can use those as a starting point, but it gives you the flexibility to be able to fit exactly what you'd like. Now, if I want to go ahead and share this with someone, so I've already changed this engineer review, you'll see. I can go ahead, click the little blue gear wheel and save, and then click the blue gear wheel and export. Now this is going to export a BTX file, it's going to be a proprietary tool set file type. If I come back to my desktop here, you'll see that it looks like a little treasure chest, and that is what that looks like. I can attach that to an email, put it on a network drive. It'll function just like any other file type. If I double click on it, it's going to load into whatever instance or review that I'm in. So anyone else's computer, if you want to share it with the rest of your team, just attach it to an email. They double click on it, automatically uploads to review. Same thing goes for profiles if I want to share this as well.
Can you do the same thing when you create that in a session?
So yes, for example, in a session, what I would do is actually come over to markup before I upload the files themselves, come over to attachment and actually attach this file to the session. And I'll just kind of place it right here, for example. It gives me that little paper clip, and then as I upload it to a session, everyone that I want to use this tool set can just double click on it, and it's going to automatically load into their instance. All right, so that's tool set. I want to make sure we're saving enough time for the flashy new stuff. This panel at the bottom, and so you'll notice that the screen's getting a little bit busy. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. And I have all this information that I've been placed on the page over the last 20 minutes or so. But I don't remember where it's located, or someone sent me a file and I have no idea where it's located. But I do have a lot of information to work with. One, the author, date and time, what the subject is, and then the page label if I'm working on a multi-page document. But I've got a whole bunch of other columns here that I can choose from and start working with as well. So, for example, if I need the page index, creation date, if I need, what the measurements are, and we'll touch on that here in a moment. I can do all of that directly from, add these to the interface. You'll notice that it kind of populates from here. I can also rearrange these just by click and drag and be able to kind of rearrange what columns I want where. Now, again, back to that navigation point of understanding where these markups are, I just click on that particular line item. It's going to jump me to that location of the page. So I can continue to do so and be able to navigate around. Now you'll notice that it's actually switching back between page 1 and page 2 of this document because it is a 2-page document. I don't have to find which page it's on or anything like that. I just click on the line item and it does it for me. Color, again, is captured as well. If I want to sort or filter by any one of these column headers or column types, I just click the header and it's going to sort. So if I want everything in chronological order, I just click on the date header, and everything should be timed out from oldest to newest. Same thing by subject, for example. Or if I want to filter, I just select the filter item, and I can just filter to what I'd like. So for example, if I just want to filter to dimension, I now just have those 2 dimension tools, and everything else you'll notice is grayed out. So that's great. Now applying that to a workflow is really, really neat. And I'm going to touch on that by actually alluding to the summary tool down here at the bottom. So summary allows me to basically run reports. And I'm just going to show a quick version of this because we'll get into the power user version here in just a second. So with a summary bump option, I can go ahead and basically attach this report to the back of the PDF. It's only going to capture the data that I have displayed. So everything else is grayed out. It's not going to pull into this report and allows me to just filter down to the information I need. And I will actually create hyperlinks as well. Click OK, and it's going to generate this report. Now if you'll remember, This was a 2-page document. This is now 3 because it has those 2 line items from the markups list captured.